All right, hey there, Sam, back with you here on Thursday, May 31st, and next up, we've done, as I will remind you, we poll our members. Today's a crypto day, so next up here, per the request of members, is for Binance coin. Now, this is a good example here. So I've got, this is BNB, the token is BNB. I've got, of course, it trades on Binance. So this is the 12-hour of BNB to Bitcoin. Now, I brought this up. This is the last count that we had on this. And it's a good example here of how a count can change on the fly as the market gives you more information. So this was a very reasonable count here to think that we had come into some sort of a double top here. The structure was there. If you look here now, there were a couple of concerns here from the 2 to the 3. Right, so we had this very bizarre spike down here that broke the 65 and actually broke the wave 1 here. But that appears to be an aberrant kind of a, who knows, where somebody does something silly, a market, or I don't know what causes that. But when you see that kind of extreme wick, given that we end up ultimately holding here into the Vegas wave in the 618, I will let that slide and just make the assumption that that's some sort of aberrant behavior here. It's outside of the normal trajectory of the market and the price action. So unreasonable. Now you look at it and go, algo target does not get hit. So what that likely means is if they're using this, remember, you never really know until you see the reaction at the target. If they're using that pivot, which seems likely, all right, this has likely not been moved. So all that's happened here is we put in another 50. So this target is going to still be here. But from an Elliott perspective, this is where it's a good example today of combining what we know, which is what drives the market, which is the fib swings, right? The algo pulls. That's what drives the market. We use Elliott wave to try and reduce the risk because we may not be able to sustain the kind of drawdown here that larger players that are behind these algorithms would be able to do. Right? So we've got to use Elliott wave to try and get more precision into our entry and exit and timing. So as I look at this, I've got a clear 5 here going into this. So there's nothing wrong with this count except we've already taken out the high. So if that were going to be a completed 5-wave structure and we go to this high and we come back to the absolute lowest low of this coin hitting their own exchange, well, this would be that would imply that this was a wave 1. And that we'd have a wave 2 that only came to the 23.6. Extremely rare. Extremely rare. Possible? Sure, it's possible. But because of the rarity, and trading is ultimately about working with probabilities, I got to rethink that. I say, well, what else could be going on here? Well, so two things that cause you to reconsider the count. One, this double top, so the algo doesn't get its fill. Right, so that's still sitting there waiting. So that makes me think that this pull is still in play. So I want to wick this off. So let's just put. So if I go, let's go to my 2 and let's be precise about it. So that target is still sitting there. So let's get a hot box up around it. So just so that we know it's there. Right. So as we move this around, we won't lose track of that. Okay. So what I think may be more likely here, putting my Elliott hat on. Well, so a couple of things. First thing I want to do is say, could I have this wrong? So if I work from my absolute low here to my 1 and I project from my 2, well, I can see right here that this is the highest probability zone for my 3rd, which is right between the 1618 and the 175, and I get a wick through it, but that's essentially where I move off of this 1-2. High probability for a 3rd. So what I think we have here, I think it ends up being this. So we get 3, we get 4 here, and then we get 5 here. That completes that. So I'm going to take that degree down. Let's go down to subminuet. Okay, so if that allowing for this, now, you pause a little bit because of the length of the 2 relative to the 4. I don't love that, but yet there it is. Right? So I look at that and I think, remember, I'm on a 12-hour here, so it's. But this still is a very, very long wait for that 2 to bottom before we go into that 3, 4, 5. But if I think about what follows, that looks more likely to me. So I would count it this way. So from that low, we'd have a 1 wave in going into a 2 wave here. And then 3, 4, and 5 still to come. So let's get that degree. We'll go to blue here. Let's go up to, we'll go to minuet. Okay, so if this is a completed 1, now the whole picture starts to make more sense. So allowing for that, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, completing that 1. Well, now we're drawing from swing low to swing high, looking for a 50. So it's just as I showed you. So we take that absolute low down here, we go up to my high. Now, interesting. So if I get, I want to be right on it. So let's get right on it to the tick. Am I there? Here we go. Right on it. Okay. So let's think about that. Now, note what happened here. So the algo target hasn't moved, right? Because we just changed where we're drawing from. So if that's a 1, this plays better as a 2 because I know a 2 is typically, if we're playing probabilities, going to get to the 50. The 50% of the entire move. So this plays better as a 2. Well, then what would this would be? Well, if that's 1, 2, then this is likely just the 1, 2 of the larger degree. So let's do it this way. So let me get this down here so it makes sense. Okay, so that would be the 1 wave. So if we now go and think about where this could be going. So that's 1, 2 looks like that's going in. 3, 4, and 5 are going to be much higher. So let's get that. We'll go to, we'll do that in blue, and we'll go up to, we'll go to micro. Okay, so 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll keep it in blue. There's 1, 2. Okay, let's think about that. Would that work? Well, if this is 1 and that's 2, and we get a little A, B, C into my 2, I'm looking for a 50. So I'm just pulling from my low here to my, okay, now I don't quite get there. I don't quite get there, but we're potentially that's a front run off the 50. So I'm a lot closer to it. I'm here just a few ticks, and I absolutely tickle the Vegas wave right there. So that's a contender for me as a 1, 2. So I'd be playing this as 1, 2 completed 5 waves. 1, 2, then yet again 1, 2. So now this changes my target. Now I gotta pay attention to that. So I'll leave that hot box there. So let's here, I'm gonna put that in white. Let's go. And let's just take that up to the largest degree. We'll go up, let's go up to intermediate. Okay, that way it's not confusing. Okay, so potentially now this is very, very bullish. So this changes the count and actually makes it more bullish. Well, if this is 1, 2 here, we know that the negative 100 will be very close to the 1618, right? So that becomes a target for the 3, 4, and 5 up here, right? So 1, 2, looking for a third up here at the negative 100, which again, as I've shown you many times, that's just a shorthand way to look for the 1618. So the fact that we're moving here off of this, and it looks like from this low here, I have a 1, 2, 3 has gone in, 4 has been put in, and much like so much of crypto today, there's this battle to get a motive wave. So this would be an impulse coming off of that 1, which would set up potentially just the 1 wave of the third. So thinking about that, so we'd have something along these lines. So this would be 1, 2, 3's going in, 4's going in, and now we'd be going to 5. Now that might end right here at our algo target. Here's our prior algo target. So we're getting, so if I fatten that, I'm getting a nice target here. But that would all just be in the context of, so it would not likely to be 3 here. I mean, I suppose it could. We'd have to check the distance, but that's what we're shooting for, is for the third to be a traditional. So we're going to get 1618, the length of the 1. So which would imply that this would just be the 1 wave. So we'd be looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get us up there, something like that. So this degree, of course, is way too high. So let's go way back down. Right, so that's the idea here. So this is 1, 2. We'd be looking for 1, 2 yet again of 3, 4, 5 to get us up for a third relative to this degree here in blue. Right, now remains to be seen if we get that, right? But first thing, we got to come off of it, we got to get this 5. So we can qualify a 1 here. So we'd have 1, 2, 1, 2. So as I look at it, this is not, I would not be a buyer here, but I sure would be looking for my next opportunity on the retrace to catch the third of the third of the third. Do you see that? So here's the big 3. So this would be the third. So this wave here would be the third in white of the third in blue of the third in white. See that? Fractal nature of Elliott wave. All right, so can you get the third of the third of the third? That's your moneymaker. If you can get on board there, that's just where you want to be. So potentially now, so if I pull this off, that's what's in play. So the count has changed to adapt to this new price action. And of course, given 3 pivots, right, we know we want to pay attention to the market geometry. So if that's my 2 there, get that right on it there. So that would be, oops, right on that 2. I'm not sure I'm smack dab on it, but let's just dial in there. You want to get it right on it. Okay, so there it is. All right, so pulling back out. So I've got my range up here. All right, so we don't know about the timing. I know I've got, so this could keep going. So if these pivots hold, so swing low, high, low. If those 3 pivots hold, we know we have an 80% probability of making the median line. We don't know when. We don't know when we get there, but we have that high probability case in play. So if we're in, it could be here, right? So there would be the second algo target. So you're just kind of looking, because you get this time component that the median lines give you. Now, I'd also be paying attention to this one, right? So I'd kind of look at them. Now, that may be too steep, so I might come over here and just, it's a little bit of a, you kind of know it when you see it. So interestingly here, now this we're running right into that. That's the shift. If we go modified shift, that's the equivalent of a channel, right? So as I've shown this many times. So if I work from this and I just draw a channel, right? That's the same thing as the modified shift, right? Do you see how it's just right on top of it? So it goes up and over 50% in price, and you end up with the same dynamic, with the same geometry as a channel. So thus, you often don't need a channel unless you have something that's very skinny. So I have 2 contenders here of where this could hit. Now, I get a kind of an interesting intersection here. So that would be of the larger, that would put me right at my algo target, the hot box that we drew. So potentially you set up for something like this. So you'd come down, so you get your 1, you get your 2, 3, 4, and then we go up for the 5. Right? So that's what we'd be trying to catch here. If this is going to finish the 1, we wait for the retrace, right? We don't like to buy when things are flying higher. We like to buy it when it goes on sale. So right now, full retail. We wait for the retrace and we catch a little discount. Can we catch that move right there, right? So, as to how many of these you want, this can be confusing if you're not used to working with these. So you can, whatever's most in play. So I might take that one off while I wait and see what happens here of the larger degree. Right? If I start to have question marks, then I'll put back the smaller one and see if maybe I've got something happening relative to this pivot. Right now I'm working off of, well, I guess this is it. That's the lowest low right there. I get right on it. There it is. Okay, so there's our target right there. So the hot box that we drew when we first started ends up coming into play here with the algo target off the most recent pull. So do we get that? Wouldn't be surprised to see a reaction there. There's the next trade right there. Looking for 3 of 3. All right, guys, if that's that kind of trading interests you, want to learn how to do this, give us a visit over at TradeDevils.com. We do a lot in our members Discord to help you learn how to do this and develop the skill. And there's a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error and a lot of feedback and learning on the way. So you'll find that it's a solid learning environment when you see it being done by people who have mastered this repeatedly. You'll start to really, I think you'll find much more confidence in your trading because you'll know where you are and you'll know how to organize the chaos. Otherwise, you might as well flip a coin. All right, guys, that's it for now. TradeDevils.com.